Welcome, I'm the Deadwood Jedi. This is the Raid Shadow Legends video. Today, I am in the account of Halks because I've been looking for someone with 2 Demythas. And thankfully, she came and said, I have 2. And I was like, cool, let me build a clan boss team for you because this is something I've been wanting to do ever since Demytha came out. The idea of running a double Demytha team. And I'm just figuring like double Demytha, double your fun, right? Let's add more to it and have a great time. And there's a lot to like about Demytha. Obviously, she has that ability to kind of cleanse, reduce the turns of cooldowns of skills or debuffs, so she can kind of do the cleansing job by herself. Not completely, but she can definitely deal with the stun. And in a double Demytha, what we're going to be doing is bringing the 2 of them to a 3-2 ratio. Basically, they're going to take 2 turns, then 1 turn, then 2 turns, then 1 turn, and they're going to alternate when they do that. And by doing that, we're going to be able to make sure that we have the stun cleansed every time, that we have block damage up for the full fight, so we're going to be unkillable. No one's going to be able to hurt us. It should work really well. Now, I did run into a little bit of an issue building this because I forgot it just reduces the cooldown of one of those debuffs by 1 turn. It doesn't cleanse it. So when we're facing affinity problems like Spirit especially, we're not going to be able to run this by itself. We do need to bring in a cleanser like a Doom Priest or a block debuff champion like a Brogni. But if we are able to do that, we can stay affinity friendly. We can even do it with a Grizzled Jarl with a little bit of adjustment. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go ahead and show you guys some of that stuff. I'm going to try and take you through the calculator and show you how you can do this in a variety of different ways to keep it affinity friendly. Now, when we're talking about affinity friendly, we really only mean against Spirit affinity because that's the one that's going to throw us off timing wise. Other than that, the only thing we have to keep in mind is Demytha can't take the stun. As long as we do that, we're going to be okay regardless of affinity. But when it comes to Spirit, obviously we have to make adjustments because of that decreased speed debuff. That's not something that we can deal with just Demytha. So we're going to have to find some alternate ways to keep that keep the team moving and running. Now this this team does work on Ultra Nightmare and Nightmare at the exact same speeds, which is great. And obviously I'll have this on the website with a more complete range of speeds, but the general speeds I'll definitely be talking about here. So yeah, let's go ahead. We're going to look at the champions real quick though, guys. I do want to just make a plea. If you haven't subscribed and you're watching this video, take the time. It's the best way to support my channel. It is much appreciated. And trying to put out this info for you guys so you can build your teams better. It's a great way just to pay me back. Just a smidge, just a small little thing. It goes a long way. So I would appreciate that. Other than that, let's go ahead and look at the champions and I'll go over their kits really quickly. And then we're going to go ahead and look at the calculator so you have an understanding of how this works. Okay, guys, let's first take a look at the Demythas here. So the big thing with this, this is not like a whale account, right? There's definitely some great legendaries on this account and some solid gear, but it's not by any means like an end game account. I think they were doing 3-key Ultra Nightmare before I got on here. So it's definitely, we're not going to be able to maximize the full damage like I like to do sometimes, but we definitely have some great champions. We're going to have pretty good results. So anyway, the point of that is I built Demytha out for speed. I did not build her out for like max damage or anything like that. I wasn't worried about that. I just want to make sure this comp works. And so we got her up to speed. I think 255 is really the minimum. We got her 256, which works just fine. And masteries, we haven't even finished out all the masteries. We don't have masteries for everything yet. But basic thing is come down to War Master. That's the big thing. Now I did take Steadfast. I just want to try to avoid her getting stunned. But honestly, if you're trying to maximize damage, you want to go down the defensive tree and come all the way over here to deterrence so that when the stun does go out, that you can actually get some free counterattacks off of it. Now with the other Demytha, I did the same thing, but we don't even have enough masteries to come down to War Master. We just don't have that there. So that's okay, right? We don't necessarily need it, but just understanding where we're at as far as, the damage that we do end up doing. And again, we did get to 256 speed. The 2 Demythas, just the same speed. That's all you really got to do. That 255, 256 range, that's pretty much it. And then we're going to go on to show the other champions here. So I'm going to show you the Ultra Nightmare champions. These are all, like, I'm using the 2 Demythas and then 3 damage dealers. We're going against Void Affinity. We only have to worry about the stun. Demytha is going to be able to cleanse it off all by herself. So we have Draco here. Really stacked him out, which is pretty awesome. 5,300 attack, 161 speed. All these champions just need to be in that like 161, 162 range. That's it. It's a real simple speed tune, right? And the damage dealers being so slow means that we can do things like this where we stack lots of attack, lots of crit damage, and even still with decent accuracy on top of that. So we're going to get a lot of smack out of these champions because of that. We're going to bring in Martyr, going to give us some counterattack. And the great thing about Demytha, she extends buffs. So we're going to have counterattack up the full fight, which is awesome to have. 5,100 defense, this is great. Obviously the crit damage can definitely be higher, 187, 100 crit rate. We did not put the accuracy on Martyr, and the reason why is we're going to let Draco do that. And because of this third champion we're bringing in, hopefully we don't even have to prioritize that skill for Draco. We're going to bring in Septimus as our last champion, and Septimus does have the ability to extend debuffs. So that's a really great option. Now you can see he is built, right? 290 crit damage. The attack is way low. This is actually something I would love to really bump up. Even if I had to give up some crit damage, it would be worth it. And solid accuracy. The other interesting thing about Septimus, you'll see here, we did redo his kit, so he is now all the way into War Master as well. The time I ran it before, which was a very successful run, he wasn't, so he was still an Executioner, like a spider build. So this is going to be interesting to see how this works, but you can see we don't have everything rolled up there. Martyr, we obviously don't have the jewelry all rolled up. Draco, we don't have the ring all rolled up, the helmet, so there's definitely room still to improve this stuff. If you guys do want to see, these are the masteries I'm using for pretty much everybody, right? The only difference, I would want to take Heart of Glory here. That's literally the only difference I would do for Martyr. I'd probably get rid of Blast Proof. We have block damage. We don't need to worry about surviving or anything like that. Now, Draco does come down here to Master Hexer. If I was rebuilding this team, I would go down the defensive tree again to get some free counterattacks, but this is going to be fine. We'll extend some debuffs. I think that's good. It works well in conjunction with Septimus anyway, so I'm not really concerned by that. We're, a little bit of damage here or there is not going to make or break this. Now, so that's the team that we have here. I'm going to show you one other champion, because when we are going against Spirit Affinity, especially on Nightmare, we are going to need to bring in something else. So if we're going against Nightmare, we need to bring a Cleanser in. We can use a block debuff champion as well. But the champion like Doom Priest is phenomenal. Now, we have a Doom Priest here, 0 masteries, level 40, 4-star. And we have Doom Priest up to 165 speed. The key is just getting Doom Priest faster than the other champions so that they go at the top of the order. So like 164, 165 works really well. If we're going against Ultra Nightmare, we're going to want to bring in a block debuff champion. So someone like a Grizzled Jarl should work, or a Underpriest Brogni. Basically, you need block debuff, even a Mausoleum Mage, a block debuff on a 3-turn cooldown. That's going to be the key for that. And because with the extensions from what's her name, Demytha, that's going to actually allow us to keep block debuff up longer. Now, if you use a champion like Grizzled Jarl, who only has like a 1-turn block debuff on a 3-turn cooldown, you have to make sure that the stun goes to the right champion. You'll be able to block the affinity debuffs, the speed, the slow. That's not going to be a problem, but the stun is still going to only be blocked for a few champions. So that's the only thing that you got to be careful of. Basically, just make sure Demytha doesn't get stunned and you'll be okay, because she'll cleanse it if even if she does take it, or if somebody else takes it, right? She'll be able to cleanse it. So that's really the big thing, is just making sure to block the debuffs from the affinity, and you should be fine on Ultra Nightmare. So that's the team. Those are the champions we're going to be using here. Okay, so here we are in the calculator. You can see we got 256 speed, 165 with Doom Priest, 161 with Draco and Martyr. This is on Nightmare, right? So if we're going against Spirit Affinity on Nightmare, you can see what ends up happening here is we get Doom Priest starts going at the top of every turn. And that's what we're looking for, right? We want Doom Priest going up at the top. That's going to make things a lot easier for us. She's going to be able to cleanse the debuffs for us every single time. And so that's really what we're looking for. The delays are just slightly different in order to sync up appropriately, but that's really it. So one of the ways that we would want to go about doing this, if we want to try to block debuffs, is we bring in someone like an Underpriest Brogni, who I have in here. Now, I have Underpriest going at the same speeds as Doom Priest was, right? 165. But we don't actually have to. We can go with the normal Ultra Nightmare speeds like 161, and it works just fine. Still going at the top of the order, not an issue. We could even have Draco going first, and it still doesn't matter because our goal here is to block the debuff from the AoE. That's really what we're doing. We're trying to make sure that we don't get decreased speed on ourselves. And the stun, we still have the Demythas are still dealing with the stuns themselves. So that's not really an issue there either. So then on top of that, we're going to get an extension here that'll help us block debuff for almost any champion that gets stunned. The only one we'd have to worry about is the Demytha that goes twice on that turn. But even if that Demytha gets the stun, the other one is going to be going the next turn to cleanse it. So it's not going to be an issue either way. So if we can get any champion with a 2-turn block debuff skill, it'll work just fine for us. That's really what we're looking for. Whether he goes first or whether he goes second, doesn't really matter. Either way, it's going to work really nicely for us. So that's 100% something we're going to want to make sure that we do. If we wanted to use a 1-turn block debuff champion, like a Grizzle Jarl, the way you would go about doing it, let's see if I can't make this happen here. It's a little bit trickier. You have to make sure that, one, they don't go first, right? So right now we have Draco going a little bit ahead. 2, they actually have to go last. So Martyr here has to go before Grizzle Jarl. The only champion that goes after Grizzle Jarl in this case would be Godseeker. And then, this is where it gets tricky, we have to make sure they do their extension at a different point. So instead of being at the top of the order, they would do it earlier in the order, or later in the order. So what happened is you extend that block debuff. Now this gets a little bit more complicated, but the end result is we block the debuffs for the AoEs. The other end result is that the only people that are going to be protected for the stun are going to be the DPS champions. So the DPS has to take the stun. I keep saying Godseeker. I do mean Demytha. But you guys understand what I'm saying here, right? If we want to, and if we want to block the debuffs, we have to have Demytha extend it immediately so that nobody is going to be vulnerable for the AoE debuffs. And then the only people that will be covered for the stun are going to be your DPS champions. That does mean you need to bring in someone that is at least neutral, if not weak affinity for those stuns. So that's kind of the trick. This is also why I like putting Steadfast on Demytha as opposed to going down the defensive tree. Now on Ultra Nightmare, it's going to be the same kind of result, right? It's kind of difficult. I need to adjust just a little bit here to make sure we're in sync with everything. So if we're going to use Grizzle Jarl on the Ultra Nightmare, we need to make sure that they go first as a DPS, and then we have to change the extension time so that the buff extension, the cleanse part of Demytha, happens right after that. If we do that, it'll extend the block debuff to cover the AoE so that we don't have to worry about spirit affinity, and it will cover the stun as well for the DPS champions. It won't cover it for Demytha, so we need to make sure Demytha does not take the stun in that. Again, it's going to be beneficial to bring in somebody of weak affinity as your DPS, or at least neutral affinity, to ensure they take the stun. So that's really important. The other thing to keep in mind, we are using in this one a champion like Martyr. You'll notice I have Martyr using the counterattack ability right before the stun. That's so that I make sure that everybody has increased defense and counterattack up when the stun comes, so that it doesn't fall off of one of the Demythas. If it does, they're going to be the one that gets targeted, because the clan boss likes to avoid those buffs that you have on your team. So just be aware of that. If you're bringing somebody that has increased defense, reflect damage, counterattack, you're going to want to make sure you time those buffs right so that those buffs are at least on everybody or on nobody by the time the stun comes around. So that's how it works in the calculator. Let's try a run, guys. So what I want to do first is I'm going to show you this in Spirit on Nightmare, so you see how it sets up and runs. Then we're going to go ahead and jump to an Ultra Nightmare run so you can actually see the damage potential of this team. All right, guys, this is the team we're going to be running here. You can see we have 2 Demythas. I've got the Doom Priest in there. We've got Martyr. We've got Draco. So let's go ahead and try this out really quickly. So the setup shouldn't be too bad. I think we're already set up, so I do have to manual a fair amount, but I can at least auto the very, very beginning of it. All right, so there we go. Now let me make sure I have it in my calculator set up just so it works. That's always important to make sure that you're doing things right. Doom Priest is gonna go, no problem, no problem. Martyr's gonna go, we're gonna need A1 first. We wanna make sure we use Martyr's counterattack before the stun, not no time before that. So that's always going to be crucial. And then we're going to go, this is a fast God, see, we're going to go ahead and get the extension going. Boom, boom. Excellent. And then A1 here with the slow Demytha. Now you can see we got those decreased speed debuffs out there. It's always an issue. We're gonna go, this Demytha does go first, putting that block debuff up. There goes Doom Priest with the cleanse. That's what we needed. The other Demytha is gonna go here. We need to, I think this is actually where we would like to get an extension, but we'll go ahead and A1 just to make sure we're on point, which is fine. Here goes Martyr. Get that counterattack going. Excellent. And there's Draco. A1 with that Demytha, and then block damage with this Demytha. And we should be in pretty good shape here, if I'm not mistaken. So got that cleanse going, and at this point we are in sync. So now it's just about making sure I have all the skills going the way I want them. And that's pretty much it, guys. It's not too complex here. We're gonna get the, oh yeah, here we're gonna A1. We want to do our extend a little bit later, I think. It doesn't really matter. Just, I like symmetry is all it comes down to. Okay, we are in sync now. So that should be it. Pretty much Doom Priest is going to cleanse at the top of every turn. Demytha is going to extend right after that. And then the other Demytha is going to take a second turn. And then another Demytha will go. And that first Demytha will take a second turn and block damage. It's really hard to say Demytha over and over again. But essentially what's going to happen is we're going to stay unkillable. And Doom Priest is going to cleanse all the debuffs so that we don't have to worry about any stuns. We don't have to worry about any decreased speeds. And we will stay in sync the full time. So we end up having 2 strong DPSs in this. And we also have a champion in Doom Priest to cleanse it for us. She's actually not bad. She can hit decently hard. She gives us the increased attack buff. It's always good things. The Under Priest Brogni is a wonderful choice as well. Probably the preferred choice if we had to choose. But yeah, so this works really nicely. And it should give us a 1 key Nightmare team. Even this squad here, with all this room to improve, with 2 people without masteries, it should still give us a solid 1 key team. Now, if we were going to use someone like a Grizzled Jarl or an Under Priest Brogni, obviously we'd need to make a little bit of adjustments, but depending on where we put them, timing wise in this, where we put the extensions, we can ensure that that block debuff covers us for the AoE and covers our DPS champions who should take the stun for that stun debuff. And it works really nicely. So yeah, so that's how this works. Now let's go ahead, we're gonna jump over to Ultra Nightmare so you can actually see what kind of damage this team does. Okay. Here, let's get into this Ultra Nightmare. I have set it up so I can at least auto route turn 1, but we do need a manual just a smidge just to make sure we get in shape. So go ahead and let everything go. We'd start off with the block damage with the fast one, start off with the extend with the slow one, and then we're gonna kind of let the other champions do their thing. Now here we come back and we need an A1 right here. That's the only part we have to manual, and then we can click auto again and it should work. So there we go. We're on stream right now, so Smiley, thank you for the raid. Appreciate you guys all being in here. We're just recording our video for YouTube of this double Demytha team. And you can see there goes a stun. We get the cleanse right at the top from Demytha. And it's going to keep us unkillable. It's going to keep the block, all the debuffs off of us, the stun anyway. That's really the one that we have to worry about. But it works really well with Martyr because we get to extend that counterattack. You can see the buffs just stay on us pretty much for the entire fight. They do fall off Demytha a little bit because she's taking so many turns, but otherwise it works out really well. So there you go. You can see it working nice and smoothly. And so I'll get myself a screen. You guys can watch, and we'll jump ahead towards the end of this so you can see the actual damage that this team can do. There you go. 54 million, I think, is a pretty good number, especially when we consider one of the Demythas isn't booked. Neither one is optimized for damage. I mean, look, we did 3 million combined between them. I mean, we're not getting anything out of them like we should be. Obviously, Draco's MVP, right? Draco's an amazing champion and puts up crazy numbers. But let's remember, too, the poison numbers that Draco does, which is probably about half of his damage, that's anybody's doing poisons, right? It just happens to be assigned to him because he's placing them. That's not a huge thing. We have Septimus doing really good work. Martyr's doing okay in there. Both of them can easily be built better. We could easily add, not easily, but I mean, high-end accounts can add another 1,000 attack to Septimus, another 1,000 or another, 50, 60 crit damage to Martyr, another 1,000 attack to Draco's probably pretty maxed out. The Draco's pretty good. But there is a lot of room to improve this. So this can be a one key team. I feel pretty confident saying that. It's going to take some good gear, but it can do that. And especially if you think about bringing in a champion like Kreela, you bring in a champion like even like a Longbeard, or a Ferric the Fat. There's a lot of ways to maximize the champion damage out of this without using these exact ones right here, but it's a pretty good result, I'd say. I'm definitely happy with this. I think this is very comparable to a double Maneater team as far as the build, the damage, and the requisite speeds and numbers. So pretty dope. Hopefully, I like this. I like this one a lot. So there we go, guys. Major thanks to Halix for letting me get in the account and build this team, because I was really excited to do so. And hopefully you guys got a little something out of this. Now, getting 2 champions to 3-2 ratio, there's a reason why they're going 255. You have to get them fast, but the great part is your DPS champions, the ones you're building for damage, are slow, which allows you to really stack that the attack, allows you to stack the crit damage, and make them really hit really, really hard. Obviously, it's not going to be as successful against Spirit Affinity, where you have to bring in either a block damage champion or block debuff champion, or you need to bring in a Doom Priest to cleanse, and that can make it a little bit trickier. But the good thing is the speeds are the same whether you're going on Nightmare or you're going on Ultra Nightmare, so you don't have to do any gear swap stuff either. So that's always a nice little bonus too. So hopefully this is helpful, and just gives you guys another option of teams you can build out there. Obviously right now almost everybody only has one, if any, Demythas, but over time the chance of getting a second one is going to be pretty much the same as getting like a second Maneater. So it's definitely something that we can do and is going to happen for a fair amount of people. And this might be a really good option for you. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys. Don't forget to subscribe. And until next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.